Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It is June 25th, 2021. We're very glad you're with us today. Our agenda, we'll start out with some success stories. I know of 3 landings this week. Then we will get to our 30-second introductions. We'll have everybody put your introductions into the chat box, and then I'll get those out to everybody this afternoon. We'll then go to our committee reports, workshop, job fairs, pit career interview, success workshop, the career tip of the week, and then we will have our main event from our speaker around 10 o'clock. If your full name is not in the participant box, we ask that you please go edit that. You should be able to just sort of hover over the camera microphone, and where it says more, you should have an option to rename yourself. Please put in your name, and then underneath it, you says, remember my name for future meetings. Please click on that, and that'll make it that way I can capture that information and make sure we get everybody on the roster this afternoon or this morning. For those people on Zoom, if you have questions throughout the day, please just enter your questions into the chat box. For those on Facebook, please just enter your questions into the comment field. I'm monitoring that feed, and I'll be sure to get those questions answered for you from our speaker. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Any comments that you put in the chat box do not appear online. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Back in 2007, I took over the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, started facilitating it as the leader of the group, got a job and said who wanted to take over. The group's been around since the late 1990s. Like I said, I took it over in 2007. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org to help those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in their job search. In 2012, I launched another website called careerusa.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a couple minutes. Well, we like to start the meeting off with success stories. And like I said, I heard from 3 different people. The first person I know about is Richard Joseph. Is Richard with us today? Let's see here. I do not see Richard on the call. He said, yes, I've landed. It's a project manager role with Kind Lending, home loans. I found the company through lending industry email that comes out every day. I Googled the company, identified a job that I liked, and I applied. Then searched for the company on LinkedIn, messaged the recruiter about how I found their business and that I applied for a role and would like to speak with her. She gave my resume to the manager, who had a project manager position not yet posted. How about that? So he got a job with a job that wasn't even posted yet, just because he happened to do some research and looked at a company. So Richard makes number 65 from our group for the year. Our second person we know who has landed, let's see, is she on the call? Nope, don't see her name. Keisha Rodriguez is with us. She's happy to announce that she's landed. She started a full-time position as a technical business analyst with Community Foundations of Texas. I'm grateful for the assistance, guidance, kinship, and support I've received since the fall of 2019 from Frisco Connect, South Lake Focus Group, North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, the PIC Crew, Who You Know, and the Fort Worth CSN. In particular, I have to thank Octavio Morales, who I met at South Lake Focus Group when we were both in job search transition. Months after he landed, his organization interviewed me and then offered me the position during this pandemic. As you travel along this road on the job search journey, remember our Creator wastes no opportunities. I pray that I haven't either by always practicing hope. Help one person every day. So let me know how I can help you. And our third landing is on the call with us today. So I'll let you unmute your mic and tell us your good news. Michelle. She was with us earlier. Where'd she go? Michelle? All right, well, she said she's landed. I saw this yesterday. She announced it yesterday on the at the interview, the resume session yesterday. She's landed at U.S. Oral Surgery Management as a patient account advocate. She found the position on Indeed.com. She applied to the position, was referred for a different role. So once again, she found a company, was interested, and she got referred to something different. This position will use my previous certificate earned in medical billing and coding in conjunction with my other organizational skills. This is a lateral move for me to get into healthcare from the pharmacy industry. She begins her newfound career next Monday. So congratulations to Michelle. She makes our 67th landing for the 67th landing out of this group this year. So we're on pace to beat any prior landing from any prior year. So congratulations to the three of them. Do we have anybody else who's landed? Any other good news that somebody wants to share? Mark, I see your mic's unmuted.
Yeah, I do. Paul Walsh, who's a member of the pit crew, just accepted an offer to work at as an SLA service level agreement. I think that stands for service level agreement compliance officer for title engineering in Carrollton, Texas. So his background is HR. He's been a guest speaker at the interview Wednesday and a frequent participant as a interviewer on the pit crew. So congratulations to Paul.
Oh, very good. Great news for Paul. He's helped a lot of people in their interviewing skills and being able to help other people. All right, anybody else? Any other landings? Nope. Okay, well, we'll move on here. All right, it's time for everybody, if you will, open up the chat box. Some of you have already done this, but please, in the chat box, put in your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. I will get all this information out and I will put this in an email to you later this morning or this afternoon, and try to help one person every day. Look through the list and see who you know, and see if you can, if you see a target company, you can help somebody. That's the way we can try to help everybody here, because the object is for everybody to land, and it's just Mark and Walt and myself on a Friday meeting, just talking to each other. So that's our goal. We don't want to see any of you here on a Friday morning. We want everybody
talking about the bad old days when people were looking for work.
Yeah. So, all right, 30 seconds on the clock. And for those people watching on Facebook, if you put your personal information into the comment field, I will delete it immediately after this meeting. So it won't be hanging out there forever and ever, but at least I'll copy it down and be able to get it onto our roster. All right. Well, it's time to hear about job, career fairs, training workshops going on. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning, Jeff, and happy Friday to everybody. As Jeff indicated, I'm going to tell you about today's career and job fairs and special workshops or events. This information comes directly from the calendar tab from the website careerdfw.org. I tend to go through these things fairly quickly, so if you hear something that catches your ear and want to find out more about it, I urge you to go to the calendar, click on the appropriate tab in the appropriate event, and you'll usually find more information, including links as to how to register and or participate. All right, having said that, this week's career and job fairs, the Flowers Bakery Job Fair will be held at the Hilton Garden Inn in Denton. That's at 3110 Colorado Boulevard on Tuesday, June 29th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's another recycling event coming up. The United Recycling Electronic Recycling event will be held Saturday, July 3rd at First United Methodist Church at 3160 East Spring Creek Parkway in Plano. So if you have any electronic items that you want to get rid of, this is the place to do it. This week's special workshops or events, Online Networking Mondays. Join Career DFW and CareerUSA.org each Monday from 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. for Networking Mondays. They have a different speaker each week talking about networking, and there is a Zoom link and a Facebook link for that. And again, that's Monday, June 28th from 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. Online again, LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Join Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, or Kurt Vondemutter each week for an online session on LinkedIn. That'll be Tuesday, June 29th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. There's a Zoom link and a Facebook page for that one as well. The Who You Know Career Transition Summit will be held on Wednesday, June 30th from 10 a.m. to noon. This is at One Cowboy Way in Frisco. I don't know if it's, Jeff, is that one still virtual? There's a registration link.
Yes, it is still,
But yeah,
it
it
is
does
still
say online. I'm sorry,
virtual.
that is still virtual. That is still virtual. And there's a red link to register for that on the calendar. And that event is hosted by Foster Williams. And if you don't know Foster, I urge you to get to know Foster Williams. Also online, Interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m. This is a 13-part workshop hosted by Mark McDonald, who's the leader of our pit crew, and Walt Glass, who runs our Interview Success Workshop. This week, Wednesday, June 30th, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. is session 9, Demonstrating Enthusiasm and Changing Careers or Industries. And I urge you to attend this workshop if you hadn't. There's a lot of useful information. Again, that's Wednesday, June 30th, from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Outside the box networking that yields results will be held Thursday, July 1st from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. This is put on by Jason Hopper, who's a career coach who will help you start the new year with more connections and greater knowledge and skills to attain your career and financial goals. Registration is required, and there's a link on the calendar to do that. Again, that's Thursday, July 1st from 1 p.m. to 2:30. Also online, Resume Thursdays, online sessions put on by Carol Brickell, and it's entitled Effective Resumes. Carol is a certified professional career coach. Again, this is Thursday, July 1st from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. There is a Zoom link and a Facebook link for that one as well. And that's it for this week.
Eldon, thank you very, very much. All right. If you happen to know somebody who just lost their job, I see another 400,000 people signed up for unemployment in the last week. But if you know somebody who's out looking for a job, please let them know about Career DFW and Career USA and the different programming that we're putting on, along with if you know somebody who just lost their job and they seem lost and they're not sure what to do, right there on the very front page of both websites, there's a place here where it says click here for help, and it'll come up with a article that's got a lot of other sub articles to it that are attached to it, checklist on what you should do in your job search, things you should think about. So just some great information on how to get started in somebody's job search if they're not sure what to do. Well, it's time to hear from the practice interview team. Good morning, Mark. Mark, you're muted. There you go.
There we go. Hey, I turned myself off after I turned myself on. So, hey, good morning. And I just posted up my contact information in the chat window. So that includes how to reach me by phone, the email address for the pit crew, and also my LinkedIn profile. And so the pit crew has got some availability for next week. And so here's an opportunity for you to practice your interviewing skills. And I'm pretty sure that you've spent a way big amount of time working on your resume and working on your LinkedIn profile and not much time practicing your interviewing skills. And of course, that's the one that's going to shorten your job search the most. Of course, LinkedIn and resume will attract companies to interview you, but then, you want to go through that interview process like a knife through butter because you are the best candidate and you can communicate that very effectively to your interviewers. There'll be multiple interviewers. So that's what the pit crew is all about, giving you an opportunity to practice in a very realistic interview situation that's customized and personalized to your situation. So we customize and personalize from the job description that you provide, and then also your resume and background and our personal experience. So the volunteers, the interviewers, have all been hiring managers in the past, and they volunteer to be on your panel. So when you send in your information, they take a look at it. If there's a match, a connection, something similar in their background or their past interviews, then they'll sign up to help you prepare for that interview. But, you know, it doesn't have to be an interview that's coming up. It can be your dream job description. You know, all practice is good practice. Pit Crew tagline is practice early, practice often. So just pick out a job description that looks good to you and send it in and get that practice. You know, oftentimes interviews come up pretty quickly, especially if you're a well-qualified candidate. You may get a call on Monday. They say, we'd like to interview you on tomorrow or Wednesday. So get that practice in, and then you can practice for the second or the third round. If you couldn't practice for the first round, and if you do that, we'll give you a second or third round. You let us know, and we'll give you a second or third round interview experience. So it's completely free. We use the Zoom technology. You get a copy of your video afterwards and the debrief that occurs. The whole thing takes about an hour and 15 minutes. The interview part is 45 minutes. And so that's what the Pit Crew is about. Just send your information into the DallasPitCrew@gmail.com. It's on the chat window, and Jeff circled it there on the picture. And it takes a couple of days, usually, sometimes 3 days, to set up your interview, get all the schedules aligned. So include in that email when you're available, and 2 days, plus 2 days, and plus 3 days, and we'll get you an interview set up. And next week is wide open. I don't have any interviews scheduled so far. Of course, it's leading up to July 4th, so it may still be a slow time for recruiting, but you can practice off that ideal resume that you find, and improve your skills next week. There's my LinkedIn profile. And so I encourage you to link in with me. Just send me a brief note that says we met on the North Dallas Career Focus Group. You know, I can't figure out who's, trying to spam me. So if you send me a note, I know you're not trying to spam me. So that's the way that works. I'll add you to my network. That'll help you with your target companies. Pit Crew's also offering one-way interviews. This is a kind of a different deal, the way it works. And if you haven't had a one-way interview, it's a different experience. It's different than even, being involved in a panel interview where there are people at the other end who are going to react to what you say. But in a one-way interview, there's nobody there. You're just talking to a recording, to the computer, and it's a different experience. So the Pit Crew is offering you a chance to practice that. We use a professional tool that Jeff got for us. It's called Easy Hire. It's been donated for this purpose. Easy Hire is purchased. Companies pay big bucks for this tool to help them manage their one-way interviews, and so you can interact with the tool. I'll give you the questions in advance. I'll send you a link, and then from there on, it's automatic. You go to the link. You see the questions, you provide your answers, they're recorded, and then after that, you get an email with the link to your recording, and nobody else sees it. You can share that link if you want to, but you don't have to. It's just an opportunity for you to practice interacting with these types of tools, and that's why I give you the questions in advance. So just send an email to DallasPitCrew@gmail.com if you'd like to do that. And let me just wrap up by our Interview Wednesday presentation. Belden just mentioned that the one coming up, number 9, is demonstrating enthusiasm. And when we put this together, we had a little bit extra time. So we also are going to talk about the extra things you need to do when you're trying to change careers or change industries. So you may be in accounting, and you want to go from oil and gas to hospitality. You wouldn't want to go to hospitality. You might want to go to healthcare. So, what else do you need to do to make that happen, and what's your situation? And so it is a challenging thing to do, and we're going to cover that. And then session 10, which is coming up on July 7th, is building rapport. So how do you build rapport with the interviewer? And then session 11, which is coming up on the 14th of July, is target companies and networking. And we heard today some landings that were facilitated by networking. So it's very important, and one of the 13 topics. Now, so we're on session 9 coming up. So all the previous sessions 1 through 8 are available on the Career USA YouTube channel that Jeff runs. And even the sessions that are to come, we also recorded in the February, March timeframe. So go and take a look at those topics, and you can do them in any order. If there's something you really want to focus on, you can take You can review that session from earlier in the year. It's the same content and the same order that we're doing now. So that's options available to you as well.
Mark, thank you very, very much. All right, Walt's not with us today. I don't know if he's up visiting the slot machines in Oklahoma or not, but I know he's not available today. Walt does he's an interview success coach. He goes and does sample interviews, gives you if you want to practice, I mean, he likes to say it's practicing without, was it something without squirming?
Learning without squirming.
Learning without squirming. So if you'd like to get some practice every Tuesday from 10 to noon, he has 2 or 3 people that he will work with, and he will work with you to practice your interviewing. So if you're not really sure where to even start, maybe before you do a practice interview with the pit crew, you know, if you haven't done one in a while, you may want to, you know, get with Walt and have him help you. All his information's on the about section of his LinkedIn page. This is what his LinkedIn page looks like. You can email him at walt_glass@yahoo.com. He's looking for people to help. He just wants to help people. So if you'd like to, please do so. All right, it's time to hear from the career tip of the week. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Jeff, and good morning, everyone. The tip of the week is entitled 5 Tips for Showing Emotional Intelligence During a Video Interview. Here's how to make sure your soft skills shine through on your next big Zoom interview. Here's an important thing to remember when you're on the job hunt. Getting offered an interview means you likely already have the necessary qualifications for the job. The interview is meant to determine if you will fit in with the organization. And that's where soft skills can help you stand out. While technical skills are important when it comes to finding a job, it's now widely accepted that soft skills, such as emotional intelligence, are equally, if not more, important. A recent survey of 2,600 hiring managers and HR professionals found that 71% valued emotional intelligence over IQ. And when it comes to promotion of employees, the same preference of EQ above IQ also holds true. But how do you communicate those skills in a brief interview, especially now that so many are taking place virtually? Forming an emotional connection with the interviewer is more important than ever. While this is more difficult on screen than in person, there are tools we can use to give ourselves the best opportunity for success. Here are 5 ways to show emotional intelligence in a video interview. Number 1, get comfortable with appearing on screen. While lots of us are on Zoom calls all the time, not everyone is familiar or comfortable with seeing themselves on the camera. Set up some practice meetings with trusted friends to see how you look and react when seeing yourself. It's important that you are able to relax and be your authentic self in the interview. Play with the settings and camera angles to find the position that shows your best features. Make sure you are close enough to the screen that your upper body is clearly visible and fills the majority of the screen. Be aware of glare if you wear glasses, and ask others you trust to give you feedback. Looking your best will boost your confidence and help you relax. Number 2, practice sharing some emotions virtually. Virtual interviewing makes it more difficult to connect with your interviewers on an emotional level. The challenge in a video interview is to share your authentic self instead of appearing wooden or stilted. Spend time with a close friend and get feedback on how you come across. Ideally, you want to appear warm, open, and welcoming. Smile if that's natural for you, but don't overdo it. You don't want to come across as forced. Talk to your friends about situations that bring out various emotions for you and ask for feedback on how authentic you appear. Number 3, find out what you can about your interviewer and remember their name. Doing prep work about the person you will be speaking with and taking note of their name and how to pronounce it is important, whether your interview is in person or virtual. The more you know about the interviewer, the more opportunity for you to connect. Try looking them up on LinkedIn or Twitter. And when responding to or asking a question in the interview, use the person's name. Do this sparingly, otherwise it may appear contrived or inauthentic. Number 4, plan your outfit. If unsure how to dress, err on the side of being overdressed rather than under. While a t-shirt or sweats may feel comfortable, they won't show you in a positive light. I personally prefer to wear blue as it is a warm, calm color that some associate with personal intelligence. Oops, I'm sorry, with emotional intelligence. Putting consideration into how you present yourself will help you make a good impression and allow the interviewer to focus on the content of your interview. Number 5, use your background to your advantage. The one advantage that you have in a virtual interview is that you have control over your background. With a little time and creativity, you can use this effectively to send the message about yourself that you want. Anything to show family, community, involvement, volunteering, and/or healthy living will help. If the job requires lots of physical activity, show some evidence of of an active lifestyle. For a job requiring a lot of cerebral activity, a full bookshelf in the background won't hurt. Get a trusted friend or family member to check out your background to confirm you are giving the impression that you desire. If you'd like to revisit this article, you can find it on the careerdfw.org website. Have a great day, everyone.
Kelly, thank you very, very much. All right, lunch report. For those people who'd like to join us today for lunch, we're going to go meet at 12:30 at Country Burger. This is one of the 5 places we used to rotate through when we were meeting in person, and hopefully we'll be meeting in person maybe after Labor Day. But this is one of the 5 places that we rotate through. So anybody who'd like to join us, Country Burger, it's at the corner of Parker and Independence. It's on the northwest corner. So if you'd like to join us, we'll be there at 12:30. I'll see you there. And at the end of this, we'll take a little survey to see how many people may show up to make sure we get a big enough table.
Is that their small burger or is that the medium?
I think that's the medium large. Okay, so yes, so please, if you'd like to join us today at Country Burger, sorry, I didn't have that up on the screen there. So the Parker and Independence Country Burger. All right, in just a couple of minutes, we'll hear from our speaker, John Jacobs, about what's going on in Richardson, Texas. Coming up, upcoming sessions next Friday, we will do open forum. So I know a lot of people will be on a long weekend vacation, but if you're with us next Friday, we'll do open forum. We'll answer whatever questions you have about your job search. On July 9th, our speaker is going to talk about headshots. What makes a good headshot? What you should have in your headshot? What's in the background? So join us on July 9th for that. And then on July 16th, we have a speaker who I heard him speak about a month ago from another city. And I thought really good presentation about trust. So please join us for that the next couple of weeks. That's what we have coming up. All right, well, it's time to hear from our speaker today. John Jacobs is the Executive Vice President of the Richardson Chamber of Commerce. John has spoken to this group yearly for 10, 11, 12 years. I mean, it's been a long time. And it's really been fascinating for me anyway, over the years to see how Richardson has grown. And I'm sure John will get into a little bit of he'll get into a little bit of the history of Richardson. He'll tell you a little bit about the growth for those who aren't really familiar with it, if you've just moved here recently, and really where Richardson's at right now, from how they're dealing with the other cities and everybody else in the community. So John, thank you very much for being with us.
There we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Good. Well, once again, Jeff, it's my pleasure to be here. I really enjoy this group. I have a lot of history in my life in having situations where I found myself needing employment or just thinking about changing what I was doing. And so it was very precious to me, the times that I got some help or advice or referrals or things of that nature. So I'm very happy to give back in doing this. And before we get started, I will tell you that if you need to reach me at the Richardson Chamber of Commerce, It's simply John, JOHN, at richardsоnchamber.com. And I get requests after I do these things for people to connect on LinkedIn. I'm glad to do that. And if there's anything else that you're looking for, maybe there's a specific Richardson business that you're interested in, I'd be glad to try to answer any questions, or I may know someone at the business that could answer your question or help you with your particular needs. So anyway, I'm here to help you, and it's great to be here. I want to talk a little bit, as Jeff said, about Richardson and give you some of the background on our city. I think it's a very unique city within DFW. And then I want to bring you up to date on things that are going on, both kind of big picture and things, but also get down to the specifics of some companies that are doing some hiring right now. There's lots of changes going on in the workforce, as you probably know right now, as people kind of stumble back into the office after the pandemic has abated, hopefully forever. So that's what we're going to do today. So let me start out and tell you a little bit about Richardson. We are if you look at Richardson, it's kind of a garden variety first ring suburb of Dallas. I mean, there's nothing that spectacular about being that. We're about 30 square miles, which makes us about half the size of a Plano or a Frisco. So it's not a lot of land area. But very fortuitously, and thanks to the city fathers back in the early 1950s, when they were building Central Expressway, and originally they were going to go on an alignment along Coit Road, which is on the far west. It is the far west boundary of the city of Richardson. The city fathers convinced them to follow a right-of-way of the old, it was one of the railroads, Southern Pacific, or maybe it was called at the time the Texas Pacific. But anyway, follow that alignment, which basically just bisected the city of Richardson. And so we got the benefit of that first real traffic corridor going north out of Northtown Dallas, and that stimulated a lot of growth. And because of the highway there, fortuitously back in the 1950s, there were two companies that came Richardson's way that really changed the whole environment of the city and gave us really some opportunities to be something special. And one of those companies was a company called Collins Radio that opened an office in Richardson, actually a campus. They came from, they were headquartered in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and they had been very successful in building communications systems, primarily for airplanes. And in fact, in World War II, almost every US built military aircraft had a Collins radio in it. And so Collins came here. And then another company that had also been involved in World War II was a company called GSI, Geophysical Services Incorporated. It was a New Jersey company. And they found that the technology that they used for finding submarines could also be used to find oil. And so naturally they needed to be in Texas. So and they changed their name to Texas Instruments, and they came down and opened an office at Central Expressway and what became the LBJ crossroad there. So we had those two great companies. In fact, a couple of things happened at Texas Instruments. First of all, they had a young engineer by the name of Jack Kilby in 1957 who invented something called the integrated circuit. And everything that we're doing nowadays, including this conversation, would not be possible without integrated circuits. And so that was a wonderful contribution, not only to Richardson, but really to the entire world. And but then in addition to that, Texas Instruments, because of the fact that many of their engineers that they were recruiting wanted advanced degrees, they decided to start a little private university. They bought up some land in West Richardson, and they built, it's called the Graduate School of the Southwest. So it was only for master's or PhD degrees. And that little institution grew to become what is now the University of Texas at Dallas, with 30,000 students, and arguably one of the top, if not the top, engineering and STEM career educational institution in all of DFW. So two great companies. They're actually still here. Collins Radio eventually was purchased by Rockwell Collins, and Rockwell Collins is now become that is part of Raytheon, and but the Collins operation is still around here. And of course, everybody knows TI is very much in business. In fact, they're in the process of completing their second semiconductor manufacturing facility in Richardson. It'll be complete sometime next year. This is a 900,000 square foot facility that will hire about 500 people when it's completed. So you couldn't ask for two better kind of corporate partners. And then, so we rocked along in the 50s and the 60s, and Richardson started to grow. And then there was a situation that came about. It was kind of a customer supplier relationship, because Collins Radio was getting in to types of communication that weren't necessarily militarily directed, and had more to do with long distance telephone calls and so forth. And so because of that equipment, a little startup company called NCI opened an office in Richardson. This is back in the 1960s, and they were customers of Collins Radio. And so we rock along, fast forward to 1984. In 1984, the Supreme Court of the United States told, we used to call her Ma Bell, but the company now is AT&T, tell them that they had basically a monopoly and they were going to have to break it up. And so they formed 6 or 7 different companies. They carved out of what used to be Ma Bell and created 6 or 7 new customers for communications devices and machinery. And so literally the world beat a path to Richardson, because NCI was the buyer and all these telecom equipment companies were sellers. And it was a classic, what they call it, a business cluster. You have a strong buyer or two, you have all the, or strong customer or two, and you have all these sellers that show up. And so, for example, Nortel came from Canada, Alcatel came from France, and let's see who, Fujitsu came from Japan. So it was just an incredible thing we had going. And we trademarked the name Telecom Corridor. We still own it. It still says a lot about Richardson. We're not as much telecom as we used to be, but we're certainly a high-tech area, in the same way that the Silicon Valley is no longer a valley for semiconductor making and silicon, but it is a very notable high-tech area, and a lot of diversification, which has happened in Richardson as well. So, so that's kind of where we came from. We obviously, telecom stumbled, and we added really another cluster, I think, to Richardson's business environment, and that's the financial services area. We had the banking operation, actually Countrywide Mortgage is the name of it, but they brought 5,000 employees to Richardson back in the heyday of subprime loans and so forth. And, the big announcement was State Farm Insurance. We have other insurance companies in Richardson, Travelers and so forth, but State Farm is far and away our largest employer nowadays. They have about 9,000 employees. They think they haven't really opened their buildings back totally up to workforce, but they they have a lot of folks in Richardson. Our second largest employer is also an insurance company. It's Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas. So we finally have a good. We used to call them non-tech companies, but now we call them tech-enabled companies, because all of the state farms and the travelers and the Blue Crosses use a whole lot of technology to do what they do. I mean, almost every company nowadays is inherently a technology company, and that's who Richardson is. We're, you know, I've been now, this is my 25th year working for the Richardson Chamber of Commerce. We have had a partnership that goes back a little bit even farther than that with the city of Richardson, and so we call it the Richardson Economic Development Partnership, but we work very closely with the city to help not only bring companies to Richardson, but help them once they get there to expand. We also work with startup companies. We have a lot of exciting things going on right now in the entrepreneurship area and so forth. So if you know of anybody that's getting or thinking about starting a business, we've got some inexpensive spaces that are available for lease, and we have a new redeveloping area that we call the Richardson Innovation Corridor, or the Richardson IQ for short. And it's gotten a fair amount of publicity. You may not have heard of it, but we're hoping that in time it will become one of the premier technology centers in all of Texas. So very excited about that. Let's see what else. In terms of growth in businesses, you know, we are coming out of a very strange era with the pandemic and so forth, and everybody's kind of feeling their way. Richardson suffered less than many cities, and when I say suffered less, the loss of tax revenues, both property tax revenues and sales tax revenues, were not as severe in Richardson as they were in some cities, and that's really for a couple of main reasons. We do have a lot of manufacturing firms in Richardson. You know, Fujitsu is in Richardson and makes you know, switches that are used in communications. We have Honeywell, which is a very interesting story in itself. Honeywell had a small semiconductor fab, a specialty kind of a fab in Richardson, and really a little bit a few years before the pandemic, they changed the function of that facility to a MEMS, micro electromagnetic systems sensor production facility. And so they're now making these little sensor devices. And it turns out that all of the ventilators that we were desperately trying to build real quickly all needed those types of MEMS sensors. And so Honeywell was working overtime to keep up with that. And any other, like I said, any other company that was doing any sort of manufacturing did manage to stay in there and do quite well. We, like a lot of our neighboring cities, did lose a lot of retail businesses, a lot of restaurants and so forth. But once again, not as many as the state average. I think the Texas Restaurant Association said that about 15% of all restaurants in Texas closed due to the pandemic. And when we figured out the percentage, how that would apply just to the city of Richardson, it was about 7%. So we had about half the loss that was the experience overall in the state of Texas. So that's kind of where we are. The other thing that's really interesting about Richardson and makes it unique, I was curious because one day because our land mass of Richardson is only 30 square miles, and yet seems like we have a lot of large companies there. So I started counting up all of the Richardson companies that would have 1,000 or more employees in their building or on their campus. And it turned out there were 13 of them. And I thought, well, that sounds like a good number, but I didn't have anything to compare it to. So I did the same kind of survey with Plano, and Plano had 15 companies. But once again, Plano is twice the size of Richardson in terms of its boundaries and so forth. So I thought, okay, this is unique. So how many large companies does Richardson have on a per square mile basis? Well, and I did that analysis for Plano and other cities, and it turns out that of all the northern suburbs, there are more large companies in Richardson by far. I mean, Plano is the closest, and they have about half the number per square mile that Richardson does for these large companies. So that makes us kind of unique. See if there's anything else on that would be relevant. I'll talk to you a little bit about some of those companies that are actually doing quite a bit of hiring right now, as well as some of the newer companies that'll be coming to town. So the point of all those big companies and a lot of development is the fact that 96% now of our land mass is built out, 96%. And so the days of being able to get these big companies like a Nortel to do a big campus or something are really have pretty much gone. We've got, you can probably count on one hand the number of land sites that we have that are 20 acres or more. And so our shift gradually, but now increasingly with increasing speed, our attention is turning to redevelopment. And we have a couple of areas that the city has been heavily involved in. We, the chamber, have been heavily involved in, and they're both very exciting and dynamic areas. One of them, this Richardson Innovation Quarter, is about a 2 square mile area that covers, it's on the east side of Central Expressway, and it's bounded on the north by Campbell Road and on the south by Apollo Road. And it's really kind of the old heart of the telecom corridor when like Nortel and Alcatel and Ericsson were here. A lot of the supplier companies to those big tech companies had offices in this area, or even had a business where they were producing some type of component that went into a communication system. And but these are all like single story, what we call flex buildings, not too many big tall office buildings and so forth. So we've worked with our property owners in the IQ to figure out, what they would like to see. And this has been a 4 or 5 year process already. The city has gone out and actually found some really world-class urban designers and specialists to come in and do quite a bit of analysis on what that area could be. And kind of the consensus that has been formed is that it would make sense to have it as an area of innovation. And there's actually some standards the Brookings Institution has written about these type of technology-oriented redevelopments. And one of the sine qua non, one of the things that you have to have in order to really be considered a technology area is the presence of a major university. And that issue was taken care of a few months ago when UT Dallas announced that it's moving operations of 4 or 5 of its areas of excellence, and most of them involve advanced technologies, and they're moving offices to a city-owned building that's in the IQ, and we think it's going to, I mean, history shows it has a very positive effect on entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial activity in a particular geographic area. So the city is rebuilding this 28,000 square foot. We used to call it the StarTech building, which StarTech was a business incubator accelerator that opened in Richardson in, I think it was like 2005 or so, and grew, and unfortunately got into the downturn of 2008, couldn't raise another seed fund at that point, and so they pretty much folded up. But the building, which was then owned by the city and is still owned by the city on North Collins Drive, is the one that's being renovated, and that's where these 5 units of UT Dallas will go, and it'll also be kind of the clubhouse and the headquarters for this area of innovation. We've had quite a bit of interest, not only of tenants to go in there, but also developers to do some things that would either be part of or complement that innovative sort of theme for the area. And then the other area that we have that is undergoing redevelopment now is it's basically the old Main Street in Richardson, and they've come up with a name for it as well. It's called the Richardson Core, C-O-R-E. And of course, COR have always been the initials for the city. You know, when we're referring to the city, we talk about, you know, the COR. So just adding an E on the end is a real familiar sound for Richardson. And the city there has gone in and really done a tremendous amount of work to the infrastructure, rebuilt streets and sidewalks and so forth. The first phase of that just was wrapped up a couple of months ago, and it is already starting to take shape. We're working to put together kind of a merchants association for that Main Street core district, and it's going to be an exciting place where there will be, I think there's 4 restaurants that have already signed leases, and they will begin to open. There's a very large multifamily complex that is part of the project that is in and around the Chase Bank building, if that means anything to you as far as the site. And so it's entertainment, it's restaurants, and it's multifamily that will be the theme of this Main Street, this core development. So, you know, the thing I've been amazed at in my time in Richardson is the city has this ability to foresee and adapt to the times. And so, you know, we're getting into an era where, you know, entertainment is important, access to restaurants is important, and it seems like Richardson's always in the forefront of it. So those 2 redevelopments are very exciting. It's probably going to be more like 8 or 10 years before they, you know, get up to their full speed and full potential. Still a lot of construction needs to be done, but I think we're headed in the right direction. And I think Richardson's intent is always has been to maintain that competitive edge and you know, not in the middle of the pack, but leading the pack. And so I think that will probably happen. I know we've got a limited amount of time. I've been talking quite a bit. Jeff, on the questions, how do you want to manage those?
Well, so far, nobody's really asked anything yet. I would like, if you wouldn't mind, briefly maybe going over that list. I'll be sending that list out to everybody who's on the call today, just to talk about, you know, who's moved into Richardson lately. I think that'd be of interest. And then we can open it up, and if anybody has any questions about a specific company, we can find out.
Okay, that sounds good. Let me go ahead and mention three companies right off the bat while everybody's getting their lists and maybe taking a look at those. So this was pretty well known, and I think it was publicized at the time that that State Farm is planning to hire 1,500 additional workers, and they have their facility in Richardson is one of three hubs, that so-called hubs that they have in the U.S. Another one is in Atlanta, and another one is in Phoenix. But the majority of these 1,500 jobs, we understand, will be in the Richardson office. So, anyone that has any sort of experience, or maybe not that much experience at all, State Farm has some really great training programs and so forth, but has some interest in insurance business. Obviously, State Farm is a great company. They have really embraced the Richardson community. They are involved in so many ways with us. They're just a terrific company, and we're just so grateful to have them in Richardson.
Do you know what kind of jobs those are going to be? Are they going to be?
It's everything. It's a wide variety. They actually, maybe not surprisingly, they have basically a data analysis software division in that operation. They are always looking for technology folks. So if you write software, if you do anything related to data analytics, State Farm, I'm sure would love to talk to you. And then they have the folks that are on the phones that do customer service. They have folks that, oh gosh, what is the name I'm looking for? The people that calculate insurance rates.
Writers.
Exactly. So yeah, lots of different types of opportunities with State Farm. On the other hand, everybody's heard of Goldman Sachs, but and they have a pretty large operation in Richardson. They lease about 100,000 square feet of office space, and a lot of it is it's back office type operations, a lot of analytics, a lot of software, and that kind of stuff. But the thing that they have done recently is they have opened a bank, and I think part of it or all of this bank may be virtual. I don't know a whole lot about it, but they are hiring, Goldman Sachs is hiring folks for their banking operations. So anyone with banking experience, finance experience might do well to contact Goldman. I don't have any people over there that I know, so I can't, they are a kind of a little bit of a hermit as a, corporate citizen. But we're still working on them and hope that we can get them to be a little bit more outgoing. There's another company that's been in the news that I want to mention because they have been hiring just, wow, hundreds of people. This company is actually based in Frisco, and the name of it is MTX Group. Nobody had ever heard of them until, I guess this was probably 4 or 5 months ago, not too long ago. They ended up winning a contract from the state of Texas to do contact tracing. And the announcement was they're going to hire about 500 or 600 individuals to do contact tracing for them. So I would say if you have any sort of medical background at all and you like to work from home, this would be a terrific opportunity with MTX. This contract runs for 27 months and its total value is $295 million. So it's all of a sudden this little company is going to become a pretty big company, sounds like. So let me say that in general, in fact, we have a committee within our chamber that's called our Human Resource Group. And we had a Zoom meeting much like this on Wednesday. And we had individuals from 3 different companies that specialize in human resources to talk about all these questions that employers have as the pandemic starts to tamp down and people are going back to the office. And there are a ton of issues. But one of the issues is a lot of people have decided that from just a lifestyle, life-work balance reasons, they don't want to go into the office anymore. And so there was an interesting little chart that I made a copy of, and Jeff, you're not going to be able to show this, but this was in recently in Yahoo Finance. It may still be there, but it was the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts these numbers out, and there's 2 numbers. It's the number of job openings in the United States and the number of hirings that take place. And this chart shows that in April of this year, job openings reached a new time record high of 9.3 million, 9.3 million jobs being advertised for. And the other number is the number of job hires, and there were only 6.1 million hires. So employers were 3 million short of the people that they wanted to hire in April alone. It's a great time. And especially if you're willing to work in the office, at least part-time. A lot of companies are shifting to a hybrid sort of a work balance sort of thing. In fact, for right now, we're doing that, believe it or not, at the Richardson Chamber of Commerce. We're working on a kind of a, you're in the office for 2 or 3 days, and then you can be at home working for 2 or 3 days. So I think we're going to see a lot of that. The workforce is changing in terms of practices. And so it's going to be really interesting to see where all this winds up. But at the very least, I think you're going to have a lot more folks that are going to be spending at least part of their work time doing that from home.
So do you think that's going to open up more office space or more opportunities as some companies probably may downsize, or have you heard of that from any of the companies?
Well, it's interesting. I've talked to a number of people in the commercial real estate business about that. I was concerned about that because you figure, at least 25% of a given company's employees are going to want to work from home and or be, hybrid workers. And but some of the real estate people will say, yes, you're going to experience a reduction in office square footage leased of about 25%. And some of them say, no, you're going to experience an increase of the amount of leased office square feet because it's going to take more room to move people around, that more amenities are going to be available, and people are just going to need more space within the workplace to make them happy and content, and also more protected against the flu or any other future pandemics that may occur. So it's kind of to be decided, but I'm really interested to see, Jeff, what really happens in reality. It's just been a bunch of people predicting things for now, but now we're getting down to reality. And I've talked to many companies that are actually, it's going to be, July, August, September, that they're really going to be trying, the folks that are going back to work will be going back to work. This was, publicly announced several months ago, but in the case of State Farm has told certain workers that their job is at the office and they expect them to be at the office every day. Some other workers have been told, hey, you're fine working remote. There's no reason that we need you at the office. And then there's that middle group, which is the largest group, that will be hybrid workers. So they'll, kind of split their weekdays between the office and home. So I think that is probably, you're going to see a whole lot of that. It's going to be kind of a three-tiered sort of workforce. I think the companies that do need people in the office are the ones that require more collaboration, several people or more than several people working on the same project, so that you have that ability to interact with other people on your team and inspire ideas and things of that nature. But it's going to be tough to be real innovative if you're sitting at home by yourself. Einstein could do it, but I don't know if anybody else can.
Right. So somebody in the chat was talking about that CBRE. I had an interview with them recently. They said they're moving from Ross Street to Richardson.
Yes. So that's really exciting news. You're probably aware that CBRE has been for many years headquartered in Los Angeles. And so they, at one point a few years ago, CBRE acquired the Trammell Crow company. Well, Trammell Crow had some pretty smart folks when it comes to real estate, and they were all in Dallas, of course, with Trammell Crow. And they emerged as many of the leaders at CBRE. And so CBRE got to looking at the idea of moving their, formally, I guess I should say, moving their headquarters back to the Dallas area. And so part of that is their back office operations. Obviously, for a CBRE headquarters, you'd want something more high rise, something closer to downtown or Highland Park or some of those places. But for the back office operations, they already had about a 30,000 square foot back office operation at Gallatin Park, one of the buildings at Gallatin in Richardson, and they leased another 1,000 square feet. So I think it's primarily going to be new hires that will occupy the Richardson space. And it's probably going to happen gradually. I don't think they're just going to immediately transfer a bunch of people over there, but we're really excited about that. I mean, for especially me in the economic development business, I'm trying to convince a company that they should be in Richardson. I'm like, hey, your broker's office is in Richardson, so what do you? And they know commercial real estate, so we're real happy to have that operation here. It eventually will add about another 1,000 employees to the Richardson workforce. So we'll have another one of those 1,000 employee companies that we can dangle over Plano's head.
What is competition like between Plano, Frisco, mid cities? What's the cooperation or non-cooperation like?
You know what, we know each other, and it's kind of fun. Sometimes I trade with some of my, or I joke with some of my peers about, one of our companies goes over to their city and one of their companies comes up to our city, and we just kind of trade them out. It's like the two farmers, the pig farmers that, one of them asked the other if he wanted to buy his pig, and farmer number two said yes. He bought it, and then he got the one that sold the pig got buyer's remorse and offered to buy it back. And so they went back and forth like that, buying and selling the pig back and forth. And finally, one of the farmers said, no, I'm absolutely not going to sell this time. He said, why not? He said, we had a profitable business going. So that's kind of the way it is in economic development. You trade these companies back and forth. And frankly, companies don't make a lot of distinction between city boundaries. I mean, cities both have roads and running water and electricity. And so there's no, It's proximity to the workforce that is the driving thing. And companies do look at, okay, what kind of occupations are we going to be hiring? And then where do those people live within the area? And that is a critical factor. And they always want to be close to it and so forth. And I must say, you know, in Richardson's case, we actually worked with UT Dallas recently to do a survey about where they call them professional workers, but they took these occupational codes that would relate more to like college educated professional workers, and so one of the analyses that UT Dallas ran was they took a 25-minute driving radius of different cities in order to see, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the average commute time is a little bit less than 30 minutes. So 25 minutes is a good number to use. In a 25-minute radius for professional workers. And Richardson, because of its, you know, the highways, its transportation infrastructure, we had more access within that 25-minute radius to professional workers in the city of Dallas, than Plano, than Allen, than McKinney, than Irving. I mean, we were the #1 city in the entire DFW area for access to professional workers within a 25-minute drive radius. And that's just, you show a company something like that, and wow, that's powerful stuff.
You've also talked about in the past about how Richardson's sort of a bedroom community, or can you expand, talk about that? I think it's an interesting little fact.
Well, yeah. So here's an interesting fact. Because of our transportation infrastructure and a lot of major employers in Richardson, 80% of the daytime workforce in Richardson doesn't live there. Doesn't live in Richardson. They're commuting from Plano and Allen. The largest single percentage comes from the city of Dallas. 25% of the Richardson workforce lives in the city of Dallas. 20% lives in Plano. 20% lives in Richardson. And then 20+% people, it's wild how people commute. I've got a 45-minute, hour and a half commute every day. It's just amazing. But yeah, so we're one of the largest daytime employment centers in all of DFW, and probably somewhere #3 or #4 like that. Downtown Dallas would be #1. Legacy's probably going to be close to #2, and so forth and so on. But yeah, 50% of people who live in Richardson work in another city. So it just shows you all the cross commuting sort of features that we have in the DFW area. In some cities, you know, with stronger transportation infrastructures, it just, you know, it helps them big time in the economic development arena.
Let's see here. Somebody was asking, do you have or know of any openings in supply chain or in logistics? You know,
that's a really good question. I had a young man recently that had some great military experience in doing logistics and so forth. And I was trying to find a spot for him. Companies like the companies to check on, and I don't know of any specific openings, but companies are manufacturing companies. So the Fujitsus, the Honeywells, Ventahood is a venerable manufacturing company that's been in Richardson a long time, did very well during the pandemic and so forth. So anybody who actually is manufacturing goods Corvo, the semiconductors. So Texas Instruments and QORVO is also a big semiconductor company in Richardson, and they need a lot of help with logistics. Supply chains are changing. There's a lot of onshoring going on now. Seen some great presentations about how the U.S. is becoming increasingly and compellingly cost. We have the lowest. Your lowest cost is going to be operating a manufacturing plant in the U.S., not the highest cost, because of all the other risks and potential interruptions to the supply chain, and simply the costs of goods that are built in other countries are going up as well.
Can you talk a little bit about, some of the most recent companies that maybe have opened up and, taken some space in Richardson that may be of interest, that may spark?
Absolutely. I've got my list here, so I'm going to refer to the lists, Jeff, on some of these companies, but I wanted to mention one that's not on the list that kind of excited about. There's a company that has been in Monroe, Louisiana, of all places, for many years. The name of the company is AOS Medical Supply, and it's run by a gentleman who came to the U.S. from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and been very, very successful. In fact, here's an interesting fact about this company is so they deliver these a variety of different types of medical supplies, and some of these things are really pretty sophisticated stuff to hospitals and doctors' offices and things like that. And the result of that, they are the #1 user of FedEx in the state of Louisiana. So they're a pretty big operation. And fortunately, the son of the founder and president graduated from UT Dallas and lives in Richardson. So it always helps if there's a family connection. And they are in the process of purchasing a 76,000 square foot warehouse flex building that's located in near Fujitsu in Shiloh Business Park. And expect the building's supposed to be, it's actually under construction now, and it'll be complete in August, which is when they plan to move in. But I would think they're probably taking some resumes for local folks. And, I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of positions that would go, logistics kind of positions, but other things just are related to running a company and accounting and sales and all those sort of things. So that would be an interesting company to talk to right now. Like I said, out of Monroe, Louisiana.
John has given me a list, an Excel spreadsheet, and I'll send it out to everybody this afternoon that has, or it'll have on it a list of all the companies that have signed leases and that have moved into the Richardson area since in 2019 and 2020. So I'm sure a lot of stuff didn't happen so far this year because everybody's sort of trying to figure out what to do. But it's a really interesting presentation, interesting sheet. So we'll pass that out. I'll send that out with, as long as I have everybody's information in the chat box, and I can get you on the roster this afternoon. Anything that stands out on that list that you want to mention?
Yeah, let me give you a few here that would be kind of big time operations. We were real fortunate that we were able to steal a company from Plano that it's actually a division of Motorola. It's called Motorola Solutions. And they leased a really nice brand new flex building over at it's the 2910 Telecom Parkway is the address. They're right across the street from Fujitsu, and they manufacture artificially intelligence enabled cameras. And that is a product that you can imagine is in great demand everywhere. And they have a variety. I think they've got somewhere around 300 or 400 employees in that operation, and but a variety of different positions. I do have a contact with them if somebody's specifically interested in looking over there. So so let me know if that might be an option. It's called Motorola Solutions. And I think they've got a separate website for them. We have another well-known company that has purchased a big tract of land, one of our few good remaining ones in Richardson. And this company I know you've heard of is called Amazon. And this, interestingly, this is one of a number of kind of freight warehouses that they have in the Dallas area. This particular facility is going to be, it's about 140,000 square feet. It's going to have 430 workers there. And once again, all the things that you do to run a business operation, they would probably have there. This purpose of the facility is to, when they bring in Amazon packages, obviously most of them would come in via the airport, although some of them could come directly by truck. But this is where they're kind of broken down, and everything that is within a 45-minute driving radius of the city of Richardson is where they're going to be making the final deliveries to. So they've got those local drivers that are going out, and then they have, you know, drivers that are coming in from DFW and Love Field and other airports and so forth.
Okay. Does anybody, let's see here. Somebody says, where in Richardson is that Amazon? Where about is that new facility for Amazon?
It's on Telecom Parkway. So if you find Fujitsu, you'll see where the Amazon facility is going in. Or you can go southbound on Shiloh Road. If you go to Renner and Shiloh and then turn south onto Shiloh, you can drive that way and see it. Now, right now, it's just, it hasn't opened yet, but they've got the frame of the building is put up, just the steel frame. So you can see that, but they don't have it completed the construction yet.
Okay. Gary wanted to know, he wanted to confirm the name of that company, AOSS.
AOSS Medical Supply Company.
Okay, AOSS. Does anybody else have any questions, you know, about companies in Richardson or companies for John? You can unmute your mic if you'd like, or put it in the chat box. For those watching on Facebook, you can just put your questions into the comment field.
If we've got any pet lovers out there, Chewy has opened its 700 employee customer service center in Richardson at 930 East Campbell. Let's see here. Oh, Infosys. Infosys is a kind of an IT outsource company. They are somewhere in the process of adding 500 employees to their workforce. So this would be for someone with data, software skills, things of that nature. Might want to check with Infosys. As I mentioned, Texas Instruments is building a semiconductor fab. So this particular fab will have about 500 jobs, primarily related to semiconductor manufacturing. But once again, there'll be some just general corporate jobs as well that go with that.
Yolanda is asking about I presume this is a company called Work Suites.
I don't know that name. We do Work Suites. It sounds like a co-working space to me. And we have 6 of those currently in Richardson. We love them because we think they're the signs of the innovative economy. You got, you know, startup companies like them. And so, but I don't know that specific name, Yolanda. if I knew where they were, or maybe could get some more information about them, I could figure out where they are and who they are.
Okay. Michael says, what are the resources are available through the Economic Development Board for people who are interested in working in Richardson? Are there any other services? I mean, or are you it?
Yeah,
You
well,
come in.
no, I mean, we provide a lot of advice and, everything from, hey, I've got some customers coming in from out of town, and where's a good restaurant that I can, or a venue to have a board meeting, or just, it's kind of ask a question about Richardson. If we don't have the answer, then we know somebody that does have the answer. So, yeah, I mean, we do that all the time. I talk to small businesses probably every day. I mean, sometimes they have questions about zoning and, city codes and things of that nature. And so I can get them to the right people that can answer their questions and so forth. So, yeah, it's a big part of what a Chamber of Commerce does.
Right. Michael also wanted to know, what's the name of that company that built the oxygen generator? Well, they were building a chip for the oxygen generators.
Yeah, that was Honeywell that did that. There's a company called Inogen, Inogen, that was in Richardson. They made the mistake of moving to Plano, unfortunately, but in the meantime, actually, Inogen makes a portable oxygen concentrator that's used by people primarily that have that condition known as COPD. But they found that during COVID, since they didn't have enough ventilators to go around, these things were actually, producing pure oxygen, and they were used by a lot of COVID patients, and they really stepped up their manufacturing because they were just the best thing second to a ventilator that was available. And it wasn't quite as, people that were more seriously ill needed to be on ventilators, but these could be, used by people that weren't hospitalized.
Right. Well, John, thank you very much for your time. Great information. I think this is always it's a fascinating talk to hear from different communities about what's going on and what's happening. And I really appreciate your time. I wish I could get somebody from Plano and Frisco to do the same thing. But, no, they just don't get it. It's just amazing. I just can't get anybody who wants to do this. I really appreciate you, spending a time with us and sharing the information. Like I said, I will put out an email this afternoon in the agenda with the contact list. I'll have that spreadsheet that John gave us with companies that are recently here, and it's got links and everything on it. So, John, once again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. We'll see you later. All
righty. Next Friday, we're going to have open forum. So you have questions about your job search, just ask us, bring them, come up with your list of questions. It'll be a free-for-all. We'll answer whatever it is you want to know about. If you have not put in your 30-second introductions, if we don't know who you are, you won't get in that list this afternoon. But if you will, put in your name, phone number, email address, position you're looking for, a couple target companies, and then hit the return key. Either in chat or on Facebook. If you do it on Facebook, I will go and delete the your personal information off of Facebook right after this session's over. Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 5 days a week. Next Monday, Jay Presero will be our guest speaker. He's going to talk about effective networking. This is the same workshop that we showed when he did for us about back in March, I think. So this is a pre-recorded session, but I don't know, there isn't one thing that Jay will say or one thing that's in his book that I don't agree with. He's very analytical in what he does. He's an ex-CFO, so it's process oriented. And if you're sort of floundering and you're not really sure what to do in your job search, or you need to refocus again, come join us Monday for Networking Mondays at 1 o'clock. On Tuesday, Locke Alderson will be our speaker to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting, strategies that get results. As we've mentioned before on Interviewing Wednesday, session number 9 of 13, how to demonstrate enthusiasm and how to, if you're interested in changing careers or industry, how to approach that. And next Thursday, for Effective Resume Thursdays, top 10 resume wreckers. So what you can do to mess up and maybe not even think about it. So join us next Thursday for Effective Resume Thursdays. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. The more people who do that, the more options that open up from each of the platforms allow us to do a few more things. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist, and then down where you see the red arrow, click on view full place. Don't click on the video, because if you do, it'll click whatever video happens to be there, which may not be the most recent one. But if you click on view full playlist, up will come a list with all the different topics and the titles, and you can go back and watch whichever ones you want at any time. There's over 200 recordings on the YouTube channel all about your career. So please, if you've got a question, go back and you can check them out. So thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great weekend, and we'll see everybody next week.